greatest tragedy that human beings are going through is just this. Their sensory perception gives one-sided perception. So, life becomes a heap of opposites or contradictions. This is why always in yoga, Brahma Muhurtam you should be up. Say the greatest predicament that a human being faces and the greatest tragedy that human beings are going through and the greatest struggle that all humans seem to be toiling with is just this. Their sensory perception gives one-sided perception. If you see this, you can't see this. If you see light, you can't see darkness. If you hear sound, you can't hear silence. So, life becomes a heap of opposites or contradictions. Trying to wade their way through these contradictions, how much suffering, unbelievable. How much confusion, how much struggle. If this nearly 8 billion people, if you document what kind of suffering they're going through in 1 year or in 1 day, just 1 day, it's enough for eternity. All this is simply because they have misunderstood instruments of survival or as instruments of knowing. You must know which is light and which is darkness if you want to walk through this. Between light and darkness, you think they are two different worlds, because it looks like that. The day looks like one kind of world, this planet looks different during the day. During the night, it's a completely different world, but it is not, it's the same world. I think you get that point during twilight to some extent. This is why it's always important to wake up before the sun comes up, because you don't have to do anything. If you're just alert and looking, slowly the perception will go into you. This is why always in yoga, Brahma Muhurtam you should be up, because twilight starts then. In twilight, if you're awake, you perceive that the differences that you have made out in your mind because of misperceptions of senses that you have settles within you. When that happens? When? In the way the planet is spinning and what is happening, something very fundamental changes somewhere between 3:20 to 3:40. This is called Brahma Muhurtam.
This is relevant only up to 33 degrees latitude. Your system, human system, functions in a certain way. It is a possibility. So, there has been an awareness about making use of this possibility.
Your life is a product of many things that we call as the universe, many things that we call as existence. So we are a consequence of a certain phenomenal happening that we call as cosmos. We are not an individual existence. So when you get in sync, certain things will happen. We have lost sync within nature and we think that is our nature. No. All the many ailments, many problems that human beings are suffering is simply because we have lost that awareness as to how to be in sync with the many forces which are making us who we are. So yoga is to bring that sync so that you are in rhythm with life. If you become in rhythm with life, you will also wake up somewhere just after 3 a.m. If you're conscious, suddenly a certain spark of aliveness will happen within you. Even if you're in deep sleep, you will come awake. this must happen to you. This means you're falling in sync with it. You're falling in sync with life.
So what should I do? Should I meditate? Should I do a kriya? Doesn't matter what. You must do a process for which you have been initiated for. Because initiation means you were not just taught a practice, it was introduced into your system. It was implanted in your system. So whatever, if there is a life seed within you, if you're awake at Brahma Muhurtam and sit for whatever that practice is, it bears maximum fruit because of the way the planet is behaving in relation to your system. If you become aware in a certain way, a certain level of awareness is achieved within you, you will see, you will simply know when the time is. If you go to bed at the right time, you don't have to look at your watch. You will always know when it is 3:40, because the body will behave in a different way. At that time, if you sit up and do whatever process you have been initiated for, not what you picked up from a book, it will bear maximum fruit. The seed will get the necessary support at that time for it to sprout or spurt up more rapidly than at other times. This is only for the initiated. If you are not initiated, you're a book yogi, then 3:40, 6:40, 7:40, not so much of a difference. Sandhya Kalas are more important for such people. Sandhya means 20 minutes before sunrise, 20 minutes after sunrise, or 20 minutes before sunset and 20 minutes after sunset. The same goes for noon and midnight, but they're of a different nature. So these two twilights are better for the uninitiated. 3:40 is good for those who've been powerfully initiated.
Bringing a balance between Ida and Pingala is a very important part of living a balanced life. 40 minutes at a time, 4 times during the day, there is a certain transition happening. These are called twilight zones or sandhyas, because at this time, the balance between Ida and Pingala shifts very rapidly. In the yogic way of looking at things, there is no such thing as body and mind. There is physical body, there is mental body, there's energy body. The energy body comprises of 72,000 nadis. When we say a nadi, it means a channel or a pathway. Nadi does not mean a nerve. If you cut open this body, you will not see the nadis, there is no such thing physically. But experientially, if you observe the nature of the movement of energy in the system, you will see that it always moves along established pathways, never randomly. So there are 72,000 ways in which it moves. 36 on the right, 36 on the left, 36,000 on either side. The right is called as Pingala, the left is referred to as Ida. These are also referred to as sun and moon. So, these two, Ida and Pingala, or the sun and the moon, the right and the left, on the level of your mind signify the logical and the intuitive. If you take your forefinger, place it beneath your nostrils and gently exhale. Find out in which nostril the breath is dominant right now. How many of you right? Left? Okay, it's either right or left. Only two barrels, you know. If there were 25, how complex it would have been. If you observe yourself through the day, you would have noticed that approximately between 40 to 48 minutes, the dominance of the breath will shift from right to left and left to right. Have you ever noticed this? Have you? Why this is happening is, within the system, the dominance of energy, a prana, which is the vital force in the system, is shifting from Pingala to Ida and Ida to Pingala every 40 minutes. Once the energy shifts, within the next 8 minutes, the breath will shift. If you're in a perfect state of health and well-being, it will shift within a few moments, or we can say instantaneously. This shifting is happening every 40 minutes, but during certain times of the day, which are referred to as the Sandhya Kalas, which means the twilight zones. 20 minutes before sunrise, 20 minutes after sunrise. Oh, that's okay, Sadhguru, tell me if there are other times. 20 minutes before noon, 20 minutes after noon. 20 minutes before sunset, 20 minutes after sunset, 20 minutes before midnight and 20 minutes after midnight. 40 minutes at a time, 4 times during the day. There is a certain transition happening. These are called twilight zones or sandhyas, because at this time, the balance between Ida and Pingala shifts very rapidly. Because it's shifting rapidly within yourself, it's very easy to bring it to a balance at these times. To an extent, almost everywhere in the world, any spiritual process or practice means morning, evening. Sandhya has become synonymous with spiritual practice. The time has become synonymous with many practices. So, bringing a balance between Ida and Pingala is important for a balanced development of a human being. You feel truly comfortable only when you're in balance, in some way. When there's any kind of imbalance, there's a discomfort, isn't it? Yes? When you're experiencing any kind of imbalance, there is discomfort. Only when you attain to a certain balance, you feel really comfortable. So comfort is never really determined by what you're sitting on or where you are. Comfort is determined by how balanced you are within yourself. This basic comfort that every human being must have, unfortunately, has been denied to too many people. Just to sit with total ease in one place is not there in most people right now, isn't it? Simply sitting in ease, complete ease, it is not there. So, when there is no ease, it's a disease. Whether you're medically diagnosed or not, it is a dis-ease. If the dis-ease continues over a period of time, it will manifest itself in the body as a malfunction, which gets labeled as some kind of… This is like incredible names they're coming out with for every kind of problem. The fundamental reason why the system doesn't last its span, it's designed to last its span, but it is not lasting its span because we're keeping it in various levels of imbalance. You drive your car on just 2 wheels all the time, you know, something will break down. So,
Similarly, the whole system is not being properly kept. There is not enough balance in the system. Only when you're in balance, there is comfort, otherwise there is no comfort. One will not know comfort unless he knows some sense of balance within himself. Only when you're in balance, you can be still. And man is ill. Human beings are ill only because they do not know how to be still. Stillness will not come unless there is proper balance. Only when you're totally balanced, you can be still within yourself, otherwise that will not happen.
So, simply sitting there is not working for you. You can create a more active process. Why so many ways of doing things are set up is, even the same person, an individual person, may not be the same level of receptivity and openness every day of his life. So there is a chant, there is silence, there is sadhana, there is various other kinds of things. At least these three things if you take, there is a guru puja, there is a simple chant, or simply sitting silently, or sadhana. Any one of those things you do, it'll work. And don't try to feel presence, you'll end up imagining things. The important thing is not whether I am present or not, that you are present. So if you sit in one place, most of the time you're not present in that place, you wander the whole cosmos. So the best thing is, if your mind is in such a state, to chant, or to do some sadhana, or to do the guru puja, so that you are present. If you are present, I am present, always. I haven't failed yet. Even if I leave my body, I'll be still present. So you have to be present, that's the most important thing. The presence, there's no problem with my presence, it is your presence which is required. Somebody else cannot say, yes ma'am, when your name is called out. So it is you who has to be present. Whatever works for you, you be present that way. You can't be present without activity. Use activity. Okay, do the presence time your guru puja time. You do that for you, that's the solution. You must understand, this is about you being present. You being present to another dimension of reality. Me, am I present? I am. Because presence is not a geographical thing. Now presence, you don't worry about me, it's about you being present. I'm very present, always. Sadhguru, but my 6:20 Detroit time you may be sleeping. You don't worry, I'm present. Even if I'm dead, I'm still present.
There are three types of people who do not sleep in the night. A rogi will not sleep in the night. A rogi means a sick person because he cannot sleep. A bogi will not sleep in the night. A pleasure seeker will not sleep in the night because night is conducive for him, for his kind of business. A yogi also will not sleep in the night because for him also night is very conducive. Which one are you? You can decide, I don't want to say anything about it. Why night is? See, light, we value light because our visual apparatus are made in a certain way. What light does to you is, it makes everything distinct. See now, because it is lit, I can see this person, this person, this person, this person, this person. Suppose lights went off and this became dark, I just see a mass of people. I don't see this person, this person, this person. So there is a certain sense of lack of boundaries in the night. So for yoga, for sexuality, for friendship, for being together, for study, for focus, for all these things, night seems to be more conducive because the difference between what is you and what is the other comes down in the night simply because our visual apparatus function like this. Where there is no light, everything merges in our experience. So a yogi, a bogi and a rogi, all three of them make use of the night. You can also make use of it, there's no problem unless you're sleeping in the classroom. If you're not sleeping in the classroom, it's fine, nothing wrong with it.